the whole business meeting to come to order. Welcome to all of you. Madam Clerk, would you call the roll?
Commissioner Ostman.
Here.
Commissioner. Excuse me, Commissioner Sangster.
Here.
Commissioner Newman.
Here.
Commissioner Eustace.
Here.
Commissioner Claremont.
Here.
Commissioner Wallace.
Here.
Commissioner Warfield.
Here. Thank you. Please stand for the votation and a roll in the flag. Let us pray. Heavenly Father, guide us today as we discuss the affairs of the citizens of Cheboygan County. Help us to make wise decisions on the behalf of the good of all. This we pray in your name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice.
Thank you. Please be seated. Time to call a public hearing together for the Community Development Block Grant. Who's going to talk about that?
The county received a community development block grant for emergency generators. This is related to the ice storm event that we had in March. This would permit the county to purchase generators primarily for nonprofit organizations we're looking at. So we would develop a application process, send those out to eligible nonprofits, and then go ahead and purchase through the program, the SAGE program, distributed generators, which would be available. These would be smaller generators that would be plugged into buildings to run heating systems in the building, hopefully well systems if they have wells, base electricity. They wouldn't be large enough to run large scale operations, but mainly portable generators. And again, this is a program issued by the state of Michigan. So that's kind of a summary of what the grant is and how we use the funds.
Mr. Chair, would the grant allow the townships to apply?
No, they're non-governmental. As odd as that sounds, it's not governmental units.
And do you know the maximum size wattage?
I think it's listed on this.
I think it's 15,000.
15,000.
15 to 18. About $2,000.
Yeah, technically we could provide them to private sector, but that's not what we're looking at. We're looking at for nonprofits. It's not available to government.
Thank you.
Anybody in the audience have any questions on the grant?
Is there any match with the grant at all? These are 100% paid for by the grant.
Lance?
When you say nonprofits and nothing in the township, I'm just wondering how many nonprofits could there be out there that have their own buildings in the general?
Yeah, they don't technically actually need a building to get one, theoretically. Yeah, we didn't set the program.
No, I understand that. It just strikes me that.
Yeah, well, it'd be straightforward. There might be creativity if you have a nonprofit in your community and we issue one there and they make an arrangement with the township or somebody to use it. That's between the township and the nonprofit. I expect that will probably happen. These are rules that were set up by the state/federal government, and we're just trying to access to have. I think we're kind of preliminary, had an estimate, maybe 14, 15 generators throughout the county that aren't here today. So at least we'll know where they're at, what agencies are attached to, and whatever communities want to work with for OEM, they'll be available to us. So we have to operate within that guideline. As goofy as the parameters are, and as limited, they wouldn't let us buy larger generators or run large operations. So we want to try to maximize as much as possible.
So then that brings up another question. If you say that they would work with OEM as part of the grant process, that they have to notify OEM from the OEM.
notify
If they receive the grant and they purchase a generator, are they then, required to notify, our OEM that they have that available?
Well, we'll know because it's in conjunction with our OEM, so we'll be handling it administratively, but it's actually implemented through OEM itself. So we'll have a list of the nonprofits that would have them in those cases, the locations where they're at, and where they would be utilized.
Thank you.
I have a question. So say for instance, if a nonprofit gets one of these generators and another similar situation occurs, are there any regulations stating that a nonprofit has to use it for their building use, or could they use it to support a community member? So if we're servicing the area of Cheboygan and we find out that a participant of, say, our agency is without power and they need life-sustaining medical device like oxygen, could we take that generator and supply it temporarily to that resident of Sheboygan County?
I don't know anything on the rules that would prevent it. It'd be at the time how it be distributed. You know, if it's similar to what we had before, it'd probably be a decision between the nonprofit holding it and actually OEM.
Okay.
What the need of it is.
Okay.
If it's extra and it's available, then I'm sure it'd be assigned, but if it's used for a primary building or something like
Okay.
that, then probably wouldn't be available at that kind of situation.
Okay. Thank you.
Where's the nonprofit would have ownership of it?
Yep. Yeah, they have to keep them and
Maintain. Any other questions? Comments?
I was gonna clarify to Commissioner Claremont, I was in the Zoom call with Lieutenant Renstrom with the state when they talked about it, and the whole goal was sort of to talk and provide the OEMs the ability that they're the ones kind of coming out and reaching who helped them the most and assisted and who would probably volunteer if there was a future. So they are sort of expecting that the OEM is taking a pretty much a lead on who they're recommending. So we've been working pretty much with Lieutenant Renstrom on who he's recommending.
So then OEM would keep an inventory list of the nonprofits.
Yes and no. We would know where they're all at, but once we give them to them, I believe our obligation is done with it, is from the state. And that's some of the clarification we should have like an inventory sheet, but I'm not sure of our obligations of keeping track of it for the next 20 years is. And that's part of it, which they're going to the state.
That was kind of the same concern I had, was if we turn it over to the nonprofit gets the generator, a 15 to 18K is about a house size generator. That's a good size house, but would the nonprofit then run like a warming shelter with it? Or would the nonprofit maybe assign it to medical need individual? That's where I was.
I can't say the second couldn't happen, but I think the primary is to provide a shelter. So if there is no power in a certain area, hopefully we never have a countywide kind of thing like that again, but say the bridge is closed, maybe there's some warming shelters that have helped out in the past that don't have a generator that we can provide if there's no power. And that's kind of the thought process that we've been taking.
Thank you.
Can you give an example of nonprofit that would be on the list?
There's a church in Mackinac City that, and you probably know, I don't remember the name of it, that is always willing to open their doors when there's a bridge closing.
yeah. So in your area, you have possible nonprofits. We ask people to let us know though. So as you stated, in fact, no Church of Straits opens up.
Yeah, that's
permanently. We expect that they would be on the list, but there's definitely service clubs and other nonprofits and then nonprofits that we work with directly at the county level, like the senior centers. That are nonprofits. So we wanted to try to locate as many as possible in this that'll fit, and then they'll have a list of the nonprofits, and then we'll know the locations, and then that decision of how they're distributed during the emergency can be decided primarily between OEM and the nonprofit. I think that's most of them, you have relationships, and you have already provided us big service during the seasons. That's some extent.
That'll all be a inventory the OEM has of all the assets for emergency management.
I'm sure with our OEM that they certainly track those and they would, at least give the recommendation to the regular organization.
We have a great OEM. Yes.
There's a whole lot of I don't knows and what ifs that aren't answered, and I would highly recommend that you not be on the hook for a bunch of money until you know what the rules are, even in the form of a grant, because if they then turn around and say, where are generators 3 through 7? And you said they went to X, Y, and Z, and those people decided, well, you know, we never needed them, so they sold them. I'd like to, there's a lot of unknowns here that I'm just sitting here scratching my head, and I'm like, I like getting money sent down to us to use from the state, but I get very nervous about, I don't know.
Thank you. Anything else?
Mr. Chairman, just wondering, who's going to compile this list? Is it the OEM? And we'll compile a list or advertise to let them know that City Church is acting on. Because there's wiring requirements that will have to be done to the structures, so that they can accept them. It's not like you can just run a bunch of 13 boards in there. You know that you have, dedicated. If we have 15 generators, then we should, if we can, throughout the county, get, dedicated sites that would serve that purpose if we did need it. And that way they could wire their structures accordingly.
Yeah, that would be the perfect case there. If they don't decide to wire or plug in there, then their available generators could be used. If they can be plugged in, they might not be used at the structure. That's up to that decision for any emergency. Whether it's state portable, if they don't need them, then right, they're available. So there's been preliminary discussions with some of them, but that's part of it. If they don't want to participate, then obviously it won't be available. So again, it's rules were, state and federal rules are trying to find it within the time frame to permit it and get as many as possible that makes sense at the end of the day.
So maybe this question's asked and answered. Is there a match to this grant? Or is it 100%?
No, it's 100%.
Any other questions from the audience? Public hearing? Board? How about a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
Thanks, support. Thanks. Yeah, thanks.
Commissioner Newman,
Yes.
Commissioner Eustace,
Yes.
Commissioner Ostman,
Yes.
Commissioner Sangster,
Yes.
Commissioner Claremont,
Yes.
Commissioner Warfield,
Yes.
Commissioner Wallace.
Yes. Okay, let's go into our regular meeting. How about a motion to approve the agenda?
There's no additions, Mr. Chair. I'll make that motion.
Support.
Support.
Thank you, Steve.
Commissioner Newman,
Yes.
Commissioner Ostman,
Yes.
Commissioner Claremont,
Yes.
Commissioner Wallace,
Yes.
Commissioner Eustace,
Yes.
Commissioner Sangster,
Yes.
Commissioner Warfield.
Yes.
Thank you. That motion is carried 7-0. We're down to citizens' comments. That's number 6 on the agenda. Anybody would like to address the board? Please come up to the podium, state your name. You have 3 minutes.
Joanne Cromley. I am here today as a resident of Cheboygan County, living in Kohler Township, a township that has 2 major gravel mining operations. Reith Riley and their sister company, Team Elmers, are buying up more farmland in the township as well as other townships in our county. Glancy, who has been operating for over 120 years, is also buying up more farmland. These companies do not do what I refer to as a bait and switch, first purchasing land as a hunting camp, only to later ask for a special use permit to extract gravel. I am asking you to consider what 2 townships have done in Michigan to take back local control from the state. Arlington Township in Van Buren County and Cambridge Township in Lenawee County have both adopted ordinances to control and in many cases stop new gravel mining operations within their counties due to the irreparable harm to the environment, health of its citizens, and the detrimental impact on local economies. I am also asking that you read the ordinances and the frac tracker document I have provided. I have provided it to Commissioner Claremont. We need the county commissioners to put the citizens and the health of our community and our environment ahead of corporate interests. The concern over rapid mining in the county when we should be concentrating on preserving our natural resources for our citizens, tourism, and sustainable business must be our #1 priority, must be yours. There is a lack of demonstrated need for the aggregate or a lack of demonstrated value of the deposits. The need and value then need to be balanced against the potential for very serious consequences that may occur. 1, the relationship of extraction and associated activities within land uses. 2, the impact of existing land uses in the vicinity of the property. 3, the impact on property values in the vicinity of the property and along the proposed hauling route, serving the property based on credible evidence. 4, the impact on traffic safety in the vicinity of the property and along the proposed hauling route, serving the property. 5, the impact on other identifiable health, safety, and welfare interests in the local unit of government. 6, the overall public interest in the extraction of a specific natural resource on the property. We can all conclude that property values will decline when the pasture across the road becomes an aggregate mine, spanning several hundred acres with the accompanying noise, dust, potential water quality issues, and overall lowering of the quality of life. To think otherwise is insulting to the people who cannot sell their homes because of having a mine as a neighbor. Kohler Township, as I said, has 2 massive gravel mining operations now, Reith Riley and Glancy. Both corporations, as I have said, have purchased additional large parcels of land for future destruction. Perhaps the county commissioners would consider creating a committee made up of county commissioners, planning commissioners, township board members, and citizens to create an ordinance for Cheboygan County. The task would not be difficult. We already have 2 ordinances that have been adopted in Michigan. Finally, I ask each of you, when is enough enough? Thank you.
Thank you, Johnny.
Morning, Vince Sametta, Cheboygan Township. I too would like to voice my support for considering the adoption of the York local ordinance. We advertise Cheboygan County as a place to come and enjoy our lakes, rivers, streams, our trails, fish hunt, snowmobile. We're actually a nature's paradise here. Strip mining operations run totally contrary to that. They treat the land, of course, as Joanne said earlier, have an effect on wildlife and an effect on property taxes. The list goes on. I think we need to consider, the difficult task of attracting new business, helping them be successful and grow, and balance that with the needs of the taxpayers in the community. So as these comments come forward today, I hope you'll certainly consider them when you come to make your decision on this topic. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Ben. It's good to see you. Anyone else?
Good morning. My name is Whitney Rush, and I'm here basically to support what Joanne has put before you. I agree. This is a beautiful area, and it is difficult sometimes to have it both ways, so to speak, to encourage business and to preserve the natural beauty of this area. So I hope you will take that into consideration and provide some ordinances, some oversight to these advocate and line things. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
One more, yes, but it's still on my lowest, so I'll just piggyback
go
off
ahead.
it. You sure?
Good.
Never wanna jump in front of those. Good morning, Commissioner. How's everybody doing? I'm here to support,
Your name?
Max Becker, I'm sorry. To support Joanne's request to put together a quality local control, which I think many people in our county really like. They like us to be able to control what we're doing here. And if you can allow a township to say, that's not good for my township, who is gonna be upset with you? How long has it been since this commission has made a decision that's made everybody happy? Consider that you can make every one of the people in your districts happy because you've given some local control back to them. You've not taken anything from them, and you've let them say, hey, we want to hold some people accountable. Don't tell us in words, prove it to us. Show us some of these surveys, show us some of these other items to make sure that we want what you're going to do to our community is actually safe and good for us. And it's not a giant leap. It's not going to put anybody out of business. Neither one of those businesses is in any way, shape, or form going to be harmed. So it's just something to consider on a different level. And I know for somebody that considered politics, how hard it is to find something that could make everybody happy. And I think this one is one of those things. Thank you.
Thanks, Mac.
Louis Valens, Grand Township, City of Cheboygan. You don't want to hear these words when the government comes down. I'm from the government and I'm very old. Sure, they found that out yesterday with a, should I say, a not so pleasant experience in Indian River at that small business administration disaster site. Again, I'm from the government and I'm here to help. Help what? Gain your financial information, gain your tax information, gain your life history, because we suffered this disaster, and the unequal treatment that the citizens are getting versus the governments is, to me, absurd. I mean, cities, counties, townships got $250,000 carte blanche. Carte blanche. What do we have to provide? We have to provide our insurance information to them. We have to provide our tax information to them, our income information to them. Set up collateral. What did the county have to put up the collateral to get to $250,000? I want to know that. I want to know what tax return they use to get that $250,000. Same thing with the city. What did the city have to put up for $250,000? Now, this is unequal treatment, unconstitutional treatment by our government. You know, governments get money, no questions asked. Virtually. Citizens, your insurance company, auto owners, denies a claim because, well, sorry, we had to take some steps to mitigate the things, and yet they say, well, pre-existing damage. What yet? Downstate, down in Detroit, small business people come in, government comes in, whole neighborhoods, new roofs, new siding, new wood windows, build new homes for them down there. They come up here. Oh, sure. You want money? Guess what? You're gonna go through a financial record exam, a life record exam, to get anything, to help out in a disaster. I mean, people are on limited resources, limited income. What is the government supposed to, what are we supposed to do? Yeah. Second thing is, I see again, our,
Louis, your 3 minutes are up. Why don't you use the second thing for the later?
okay, all right,
Thank you. Thank you, Louis.
where's over here? Government, you're ill.
Good morning, Commissioners. John Studer.
Hey, John.
Wanted to add on to the aggregate issues in that. I called the county and complained that the Reese Riley was filling in the wetlands there on that. You could see it from 68. Took pictures of the cattails and stuff. Called the county. Well, the very next week, all Reese Riley did was build a berm that's 100 yards tall and completely encapsulated the pits. You can't see anything that's going on in there. They're in the water table, and there is absolutely zero oversight. There's no one checking up to make sure they're not polluting the water. So that kind of segues into local control and the lack thereof an enforcement officer for the county. Even one hired part-time would be a great help. But the issue is this board at some point changed the planning and zoning infractions from criminal to civil. And that takes away all the teeth of the planning enforcement officers. So I'd like this board at some point to maybe reconsider changing planning and zoning back to a criminal offense so we have some teeth to an enforcement officer. Thank you.
Hey, John. Anyone else? Hearing none, let's move on to item 7, scheduled visitor department report. SBA is here. Or they are. Please. State your name.
My name is Julie Garrett. And
Hi,
I'm
Julie.
troubled with the SBA Office of Disaster Recovery and Resilience, and I'm from the federal government, and I'm here to help.
Yeah.
Okay. I don't know whether to give you an overview of the program or respond to the Stoneman's experience. So
Why don't you give us an overview?
okay, I'll give you an overview. So what happened is you had a horrible ice storm, and your governor and the state emergency management office put in an application with FEMA. And FEMA hasn't decided yet whether to accept the declaration. So after 20 days, they can come to the U.S. Small Business Administration and ask us to make disaster loans available. And that's what we've done. We don't offer grants to anybody. We just have loans. And what happened is back in the 50s, they decided to come up with this disaster loan program, and they had us administer it because we already did small business loans. But when there's a disaster like this, we help homeowners, renters, businesses of all sizes, and nonprofits like churches and food banks and stuff. So what's available here is all 3 types of loans in your county. Physical disaster loans for homeowners and renters of up to $500,000 with physical damages that aren't covered by insurance. And for homeowners and renters, it's $100,000 for contents that could have been damaged from the storm. For businesses and nonprofits, it's up to $2 million of uncompensated physical loss. And then businesses that had to close because your power was out for so long and they just, weren't open, weren't getting an income during that period, they can apply for an economic injury disaster loan. So that just is a working capital loan to help them keep the doors open until things are better for them. So those are the 3 types of loans. I can get into details if you want, but just to give you an overview. The interest rates for homeowners and renters is as low as 2.75%, 4% for businesses, and 3.625% for nonprofits. And because we've been through a disaster, because there might be a lot of people rebuilding, using contractors, they give you 1 year before the loan payments start. So you receive your money and have 12 months before you have to make the first payment. And during that first year, there's no interest. So interest isn't accruing that year. So the term is up to 30 years to keep the payments really reasonable. There's no cost to apply, and if you pay the loan off early, there's no penalty for doing that. So that's kind of the big picture. I can get more granular if you want that. People can add 20% of their damages to their loan for up to 2 years to make changes to their house to make it stronger, to help mitigate the next disaster. So let's say somebody has problems with ice dams, or they want stronger windows or whatever, they could use some mitigation funding to work on that. The deadline for physical applications is August 8th, and people have until March 9th to apply for the economic injury disaster loan. So that's kind of the big picture. As of Saturday afternoon, we had received 23 applications from Cheboygan County. And the way it works with disaster loans, at first, you just put in your info, it's pretty basic, and then they start to ask you for more details. And so once you supply everything, that's when your application is complete, and that is when they count it. So 23 applications might seem low to you, but there could be more in the pipeline. They're just not complete yet, so they're not getting into that count, just so you know. And you can apply online at sba.gov disaster in private. Just you and your computer putting information in. If you need help, you can call our 800 number. It's 800-659-2955. And we do have a center open in Indian River at the Chamber. It's open through July 10th, closed on the holiday on July 4th. The hours are 8 to 5, weekdays and 10 to 2 on Saturday. That chamber is small, and there's a couple tables set up, and our people are in there with laptops, and they help you make a portal, and they start asking for your information. If that's not the kind of thing you want to do in a public place like that, then don't go there. Work on it on your computer at home. And the application process, it's like applying for any loan. You have to have your expenses. We are going to ask you for your insurance information, all of that kind of stuff. And they are going to pull your credit report, make sure you can afford a loan. It's like applying for a loan anywhere else. We're still going to make sure you can make your bills and make your loan payments. So anyway, I'd be happy to answer your questions.
Or any questions? Well, thank you for being there. I'm seeing the signs.
Thanks, Brian. I just want to say I've been talking with your people. I tabled at that really great steel drum concert last Thursday night down at the river. And the biggest thing I'm hearing from people is that the insurance settlements are not coming in high enough to pay for their repairs. Like there's just a big gap between what insurance is offering and what they need to pay their contractors. I'm hearing that the most.
Yeah, housing costs are exceedingly high here due to the resort property.
Yeah. Okay, well, thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you for coming. Moving on to the North Country Community Mental Health 24 annual report. Good morning. There he is. He made it. It's not a difficult prize. Thank you for time on your agenda today to present the North Country Community Mental Health FY24 annual report. Since it was in your packet, I'll hit the highlights and then take any questions if that works for you all. I'll start with the overall design of the report, which was really intended to reinforce the thought that North Country as an organization needed to be looking at efficiencies and flexibilities and really putting scalable plans in place depending on what the future held from a funding standpoint. So we knew going into FY24 that it was going to be unpredictable, if you will, because of the public health emergency unwind and the way that we're funded. That did come to fruition in a couple of different ways. One, people getting the notification they needed to re-enroll, getting through the re-enrollment process, and then there were systems issues at the state level where people in the wrong categories, and really, it was a bit of a roller coaster ride. Those continued in
this fiscal year here. Um, which at the time, when we were planning for that, I thought that would probably be the hardest year, the year we're in today. Now looking ahead into FY 26, I think everybody has seen the news. A lot of budget discussion around Medicaid. We're 92% Medicaid funded. And so looking ahead, I think the challenges will become even more as we move ahead. I'm going to skip over a couple of pages here and get to numbers. But before I do that, just from a service area standpoint, just a reminder that we service 6 counties. So we have Emmett, Cheboygan, Charlevoix, Antrim, Otsego, and Kalkaska counties as our service area out there. And then if you go to the page that's got the 3929 at the top, that's the number of people that we served in FY 24. That's pretty level with the people we served the year prior to that. It's down a couple hundred people. And we're really back in the pre-pandemic numbers. So I don't think any of those changes were really significant, but we have trended down a little bit. 74% of the people we serve are adults, 26% are children. That is almost identical to last year. And 24% are diagnosed with an IDD, and that's an intellectual or developmental disability. And 76% were diagnosed with a mental illness. As I mentioned, we're 92% Medicaid funded. We performed just over 2,000 crisis screens. Those primarily happen in local emergency rooms, but they also happen in local jails and in our offices if people present there in crisis. We employed directly 203 people in FY 24 on average, and that's down from FY 23. Some of that is planned, and some of that is just not being able to fill some key positions that we were still looking to hire. From an economic impact in the region, we also support 634 employees that work in those 6 counties via contract. And 65% of our budget goes to provider contracts. If you skip over to program and services, it gives a pretty good overview of what it is we do. So crisis services, I just spoke a little bit about that. That's primarily crisis screening in emergency rooms. We have therapy services, psychiatric services, health services. One of the programs there that I'd like to call out is the behavioral health program. So the northern region, the top 21 counties participate in that. And it's really geared toward coordinating behavioral health and physical health and taking care of the whole person. And the outcomes as far as follow-up after emergency room visits and discharge from an inpatient psychiatric hospitalization and access to primary care considerably better than for the general Medicaid population. We had 107 people that we served through that program. Another one that I think I would point out, and I don't think we've really discussed it here before, is the OBRA and older adult services. So we do have a team that assesses folks for their living situation, either somebody who's already in a nursing home and maybe having mental health issues, or somebody who's living independently or in an AFC home and are to go into a nursing home. And then the assertive community treatment team as well is really critical within the community. Team of people, it's a very frequent visit. We kind of refer to it as a hospital without walls. And sometimes we see folks who are on the ACT, in the ACT program, multiple times a day. And often it's at least once a week that I'll be meeting with those clients to keep them stable and to keep them from needing additional services. As we have typically done, we did put in stories here, that people have relayed to us about the impact of our services. There's a couple in here that, I really like. One of them is around a fellow with the help of his family and support from North Country. Has actually got his own little retail business going now, and developed a product and, living a fairly good life. So, that's one that really kind of hits home on all of the buttons. And then there's a lot of discussion in here around the clubhouses. And those are psychosocial clubhouses, for Sheboygan County is primarily served by the Petoskey Club. We have two of them, one in the south as well. And that is a program for people with severe mental illness, who've been diagnosed with a severe mental illness. And it supports them in the skill set, the state of the community, and the supports that they need. One of the individuals talks about the fact that recovery is not linear. And I think that's exactly right? You 2 steps forward, 1 step back. And so that support and the step back and the encouragement to go to the next step is really pretty critical. In addition to that, it's designed to teach people work skills. It's got a work order day, so the club members all take on tasks of running the club and they're assigned every day. And then after hours, there are social events as well. Those don't happen during the day. And that program also does transitional employment for folks where people are employed out in the community and supported by North Country staff. I'll skip ahead a little bit here. And if we look at our financials, we've broken down where the revenues are coming from. Like I said, 92% are Medicaid. State and federal funds, which is really state general fund, is another 4%. Rents are 0.5%, and those are really properties that we own, the providers are providing services in. County appropriations are 1%, and then other miscellaneous makes up about 3.5% of the income. So any changes to Medicaid, I hate to hammer on that, really do affect our ability to provide services. Total operating expenses, we had 65%, as I mentioned, went into provider services, right? So actual direct services to all the folks we serve. And the rest is really pretty minor. There's a 27%, which is salary and fringe. That would be services that we provide directly, and it would also be administrative salaries. So all of the outpatient therapy offices, were it primarily in the health services we do directly, and most of the contracting is supporting the long-term supports and services for folks like an IDD in the community. So AFC homes, CLS, day programs, supported employment. That's primarily contract to that. And then if we go to the second to the last page, and it breaks out that distribution between the 6 counties. Again, this year it's relatively equally distributed, and it really just depends on who shows up for services, how that's allocated. And so Cheboygan County ended up at 16%, and 629 folks out of Cheboygan County. So a little bit more breakdown on the population. I would point out again the IDD versus EMI and the difference there at 74. 75-25 split, because when you look at services down below by program in the spending by population, it's almost clean reverse. And again, that's really because the IDD population of folks that we're supporting sometimes 24/7 a day in AFC homes and out in the community in the wrong homes or in family homes, and it allows them to live in the community rather than the old style institutions that used to exist. The expenditures for service, are listed here by county as well. Sheboygan County was 13% to just under $7 million worth of, services that are provided within the county. And if you will allow me, there are some challenges that I think are on the books as we are looking forward into FY 26. So the Department of DHHS has announced that they are looking to issue a RFP to replace the current public mental health system. And it's been stated it is not an effort to privatize, but if you look at the most likely person who would meet the bidder requirements, it's going to be a health plan. And so it's again just kind of a repeat of what's already happened 2 times over. It's a different party trying to do it. And they may be taking a little different bent on that. But why I think it's of interest to you all is that whoever the bidder is, whoever would take place, cannot have any ties back to any of the providers. So can't be tied to North Country, it can't be tied to any of the contractors out there. In other words, really breaking that local input that there is today. So today you have folks, commissioners that sit on that regional entities board, and all of that would go away. And so I think that that's pretty critical, and I think it's worth keeping an eye on if you value that. I think it would even really further challenge the community mental health. And, there is the Medicaid service part of it, and then there's the GFs part of it, where we're in the local county jails, where we're trying to work with the local court systems and the local law enforcement to coordinate as best we can those services. And I think that that is at risk as well. So I just want to put that out there. We will probably, depending on what my board says on Thursday, come back with a resolution and ask you all what you think. It's a good heads up, Brian. Thanks for that. Thanks. Other question? Any question?
I do. For Sheboygan County, it shows 629 served, 16%. What is the breakdown for children?
Specific to the county, I don't know the answer to that, but I can give that to you.
And then the next question I had, you said you worked in the county jails, I'm familiar with that. But what about the probate court? Do you work with the probate court to that?
Well, we have reached out to the court a few times to try to start to talk about AOTs and some of the other things that are interrelated. Typically, we end up working with the probate court when there's an issue. But we would like to change that. We have reached out a few times to try to do that.
And I know you provide programs in the jail.
Yeah.
And actually you have the personnel go into the jail.
Yeah.
And I would assume that would be the same if there was a juvenile in the jail.
Yeah, would be. Yes, we could see some.
There's format. In the Sheboygan County cost was under 7 million, about 13%. And what is the breakdown of that? Your revenue source?
That is primarily Medicaid.
So that'd be that 90%.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you.
Pretty much everything we do. And for the county jail, there is a new, and I know we got some staff here, but there's a new effort at where the rubber meets the road, so to speak, in trying to look at the recidivism issue. And so there's a subcommittee that's working there. The higher level jail diversion committee is yet to really kind of come together to push other aspects of that forward.
Brian, is there any coordination between Clarence and mental health unit here and mental health?
So our role in the emergency room is, from a Medicaid standpoint specifically, is to authorize the use of Medicaid to hospitalize somebody. We have staff that's embedded, in McLaren and Petoskey, because that's really where most of the folks come from. And then, we do the referral up here. We had really good coordination with them for a while. They've had staff changes. Their medical director, they had for a relatively short period of time as a psychiatrist, it was great. And he is subsequently left. And so we do have good relationships there. As far as getting people in and getting people out and the planning when we do. And most of the folks are actually coming through the Petoskey agent.
Thank you. Any other questions?
Sure, I would just like to, I sit on the board with Brian, and I just want to say that it's a well-oiled machine. Brian does an excellent job as chief officer, and I think that there's a little bit of tough times here right now with funding and the way things are going, but on this particular board, we as board members, kind of work the purse strings, and so it's very difficult. There's boards that we're liaisons on, there's other board members, that we make financial decisions for them. So, but I just want to say Brian is well informed. He always brings all the information that we need to make a very informed decision. So just kudos to you, Brian. Thank you very much.
Thank you, I do appreciate you saying that.
Any other questions?
I have a question. How are the county appropriations determined in the 6 counties? Are they equal appropriations or based on
They
population?
weren't equal. They were set back in around 1990 when the community mental health authorities were established, and they've never been since then. So typically, you get a ratio of about, and we have to use those funds, by the way, to buy down the Medicaid, if you will. And so they were set some formula way back. They are a little bit different. I think at the time probably was around Medicaid eligible folks that they need to those counties.
Any other questions? Thank you so much for coming over. Appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
We're down to 7C, Northeast Michigan Community Service Agency. Nancy,
Good morning, everybody. Amanda from NEMSCA, otherwise known as Northeast Michigan Community Service Agency. Should have received this digitally, but you also have a hard copy. I am presenting our annual report today for 2024. So I'll go through this quickly and then leave some time for questions. So just a reminder, our core service area is 11 counties, including Cheboygan County. We also go into a total of 21 counties throughout the state of Michigan with our early childhood programs. A couple things I want to point out here. For areas served, Cheboygan was our 3rd highest served as far as individuals in 2024. We served 1,262 individuals for 2024. Our highest age categories in 2024, 75 years and older, that was accounting for 32% of the services provided. Followed up by that would be the age bracket of 65 to 74, and then 18% for 0 to 5. On page 6 and 7, we're going to turn into our leadership. We highlight our leadership team here and then talk about our board a little bit. We have a diverse board representing elected officials, business professionals, and members of the community, also individuals that receive NEMSCA services. I just want to give a shout out to Mr. Sangster for serving on our board. We appreciate your dedication. On page 8 and 9, we talk about our annual revenue and expenditure. So in 2024, NEMSCA had a total funding revenue that reached just over $67 million. The majority of our funding comes from state and federal sources, leaving only 5% to in-kind or community donations or fundraising efforts. So similarly to other nonprofit entities, given the current budget cuts, that is somewhat of a concern for our agency, depending on what that specifically looks like for federal grants. On page 9, you can take a look at where most of our expenditures come from. Over 52% are from our early childhood program. We have another large chunk with community-based care, and then community programs, aging, and you'll see that only 4%, that's going to be our indirect rate, that goes to the management and business operations of our agency. We'll talk about program impact on page 10. So we served a total of 17,830 individuals in 2024. We assisted 93 individuals with vehicle repairs, which that was a pilot program that we did with Community Services Block Grant funding. We were able to pilot an auto repair program that was incredibly successful. That was, I think, the first time in NEMSCA's history where something went viral within 24 hours. We opened up applications, and in the morning we're like, okay, never, just kidding. We have to pause this because we had so many requests. Not surprising, because if you look at our last community needs assessment that was published, transportation was one of our top 5 needs. So by utilizing funding to directly support what is identified in our community needs assessment, we're directly supporting the needs of our community. We also service 742 individuals through our water program, which we have 2 water programs that are still available with funding. So individuals who are on public city sewer, we're able to help with past due water bills. Also potentially providing proactive support with a water bill if they are expected to be facing a layoff or be off work for a medical procedure or something like that. We also have funding for in-home plumbing repair as well. We also assisted just over 1,200 individuals with homeless prevention services. We had 48 volunteers through our senior companion and foster grandparent program. 110 individuals we assisted with emergency motel stays. We assisted 278 children with diapers through diaper bank programming. We assisted 32 households with past due property tax assistance. Our weatherization program assisted 101 households. And just a reminder, with our weatherization program, that is not just for property owners. If someone is renting, they can apply for that assistance as well. 992 students were formally supported through our school success program, and 302 volunteers were giving back. And then I'm going to highlight on page 11, so our Bridges of Self-Sufficiency program, that's a program that I oversee. This program is geared at ending generational poverty, and we're seeing tremendous success. We are in a total of 13 counties right now, and we really take a collaborative approach with the families that are enrolled in this program, meaning there's responsibility on them to continue to participate and help work with us to remove barriers and also support with their goals. The story that's highlighted here was a single mom who came to us who was working a part-time job under the table, had not reliable transportation, and currently right now she is excelling in the apprenticeship program in Coletta. She now owns a home with her partner. She's financially sound, has money like building up in a savings account. Her kids are thriving in school, and we're seeing just tremendous success like this through our program month after month. One of our recent graduates was just awarded with a Client of the Year award down in Lansing just a couple weeks ago as her success. She was a domestic violence survivor who was homeless when she was referred to our program, and she now is working a full-time job. She bought a home with her partner. She's going back to school, to law school. So this program has been incredibly successful. We're really passionate about it, and we hope to continue to grow it in years to come. On page 12, we talk about some of the initiatives that were new or expanding. So the Child Initiative program, that was a collaborative approach was developed by OSCO to bring in new child care access in the region. PACE Northeast, that was a huge undertaking, which is set to open within the next couple months. Our water assistance program, as I mentioned, That is still alive and well. Both of those programs still have funding available. Our BOSS program that I just mentioned, and then our CSBG funding. As I mentioned too, that's what allowed us to do that auto repair program. Another thing that's not highlighted here that I just want to gain your awareness on is we have a new feature on our website as of this year. And that's a chat feature. It's not an AI bot, it's our actual NEMSCA staff. So if you go onto our website during our business hours, you can talk to an actual team member of our agency that can help answer questions quickly, because we understand with our agency as large as we are, 30 different programs, our website can be a little bit overwhelming. So we have that added availability to assist individuals. And we also launched a podcast in January. So our podcast is accessible on Spotify. You can find it on our website. We love to have guests. So if any of you would like to come on and be a guest on our podcast to talk about all the great work you're doing, we'd love to have you on. And then there's just some photos here of some of the things that were happening, and then our contact information on that.
Any questions?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to, again, I enjoy serving on the board and they're very good at what they do, but I'd like to point out the 4% that they operate their boat as to operate, administer that.
That's amazing.
I have looked a lot of Lisa and Nicole and the CEO, they do a good job. They do help a lot of people. And also, there is water money available for city residents to get help on their water
Yeah.
bill through NIMSCA.
Yeah.
And also, Kimmy said, and I don't know this to be true, but I guess there's about $45,000 or $50,000 left over from storm related money. So there's a way to suggest if people may have to, have
So, yes, thanks for bringing that up. So individuals who are struggling still from the ice storm, we do have a pot of money. The caveat to that is you must be receiving NEMSCA services somehow. So if you're not currently a NEMSCA participant, give us a call. Maybe you qualify or want to participate in weatherization, some other entity service that we offer that could potentially unlock some support through some ice storm relief.
weatherization, about furnaces.
Oh, yeah. Insulation.
Windows.
Do you coordinate work with Michigan Wood?
We partner with them quite often. Yep, we have a direct referral process.
That's, thank you.
Actually, just as a board now, too.
Oh,
She disappointed.
that's awesome.
Board, you got any other questions? Thanks again.
Yeah, thanks for
Good
having me
report.
here. Great to
Good
see you all.
report. Good work you're doing.
Thank you.
Whether you know it or not, you're in the missionary work.
Yes, God appointed me for this work, whether I like it or not, right? I just trust him every day.
I'm gonna show up at work, telling your plans.
Exactly, you got that. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Let's take a 10-minute break. 10:30.